What's up guys, Asian here again with another dungeon guide video. This time we'll be doing Blessed Crucible. This fight, the last boss does have some fire damage, significant amount of fire damage, so if you're a vampire, I would recommend resetting it, but it is not necessary. It is only the last boss and one boss in the middle that does fire damage. Other than that, nothing too much to worry about. Pretty straightforward dungeon, not particularly difficult. The only tricky boss is really the last boss at the end. As usual, we'll be skipping over the trash mob fights, and once I explain the boss mechanics, we will go ahead and skip past the rest of the boss mechanics. So for this first boss fight, you're going to have to take out all the trash mobs before he will let you fight him, so you're going to have to do that first. There's two groups, one to the left, the other to the right. Take them out one at a time, or you can take them out all together if you're feeling particularly ballsy. Once you finish off those two groups, in order to start the boss fight, you actually have to talk to him in order to get him to start fighting you. He has a fear attack, which you saw right there, and he has a very large AoE conal attack right there that will knock you down, fly you back. Pretty long knockdown time. Even if you block it, you will still get knocked back. During this fight, you'll see that I try to taunt the boss, but somebody apparently has a taunt on their bar, so it doesn't work all the time. That's something to be very aware of if you are DPS or healer on dungeons. Do not have a taunt on your bar, because if the way the taunt mechanic works is if two people trade taunts, so I taunt, you taunt, then I taunt again, my second taunt will not actually taunt the boss. It's a tricky mechanic where if the boss is taunted 3 times by 2 or more different people, then he's immune to taunts for, I believe it's 15 seconds. So try not to have any taunts, so no ice staffs, no sword and boards, and don't use inner rage if you are not the tank. Once you beat him, step through the door, go through the arena. You will face off against 3 waves of ads before the bosses will fight you. You'll fight against 4 of them at once, 2 melee users and 2 mages. They're all werewolves. They will transform into werewolves at about, I believe it's 50% health, might be a little bit lower. General strategy is for the tank to taunt the melee users and then kind of keep them grouped around one of the mages so DPS can AoE them down. You'll see there that they transformed into werewolves. Even after they transform, there's only one of them that has any sort of particularly tricky special moves, and that's the Fire Mage, which is the one that we were going to kill last. When she transforms into a werewolf, she'll create sort of a fire shield around her, fire AoE around her that will damage everybody within melee range. So if you're a melee user, just be aware of that. You'll continually take damage. Healer, if you have any melee DPS, have to keep them up during this fight. One thing to note about this set of bosses, they are all susceptible to being off balance and the stunning moves like Stone Fist and Crystal Frags. So if you block their heavy attacks, you can exploit them with a heavy attack like you normally do with trash mobs. Just something interesting to note. This is the next boss here. Nothing too special. She's a Nightblade, so she has all the standard Nightblade abilities: Soul, Siphon, Heavy Attack, and she'll do a Teleport Strike. She comes with 2 Durzog ads, but they go down pretty quickly. Nothing to really be concerned about. The only tricky move she has is she has a AoE Twirl attack that can kill you if you're kind of not paying attention to your health. Just be aware of that. The Beastmaster here, you're going to face off against 3 different bosses, all in quick succession. This is the first one. These are Incineration Beatles. Surprisingly, these are particularly tough to deal with. The general idea is for the tank to kind of take aggro as soon as possible, AoE them down. You'll see there that they will kind of spit out fire and keep that on the field. The tank is going to want to just like kite them around, make sure they're not facing the group when they spit out that fire, because it does do some pretty significant amount of damage there. You can't res during the fight. Someone else is gonna have to res you, just like any standard boss fight. But once they're killed, you can self-res. Once you beat the Incineration Beatles, you'll go over to the right door where you'll fight against the next boss, which is a giant scorpion. This one does have a boss bar, but it's more of a mini boss than anything else. Doesn't really have much to talk about here. He will sometimes kind of dig his stinger into the ground and create poison circles. Right there. So just watch your feet when he does that. I believe it is a random person that he decides to hit with that poison circle. Other than that, doesn't do anything else. Once you kill the scorpion, Beast Smasher moves to the center where the final boss will come out. It's the Troll King. Has a couple of attacks you need to stay aware of. He does a kind of bash the ground in front of him move that creates a couple of shockwaves in front of him. He has a super wide AoE attack. He will charge up. You can run out of it, but it's easier just to block through the damage there. And then he'll leap at a random person and hit them, and anybody around them for AoE damage. Overall, not that difficult. Just remember to block when he kind of like looks like he's charging up an attack, so you don't get hit by that AoE attack at full force. Once you beat him, step through the door, continue on, take out a couple of trash mobs before facing off against the next boss, whose mechanics kind of hint at what the final boss mechanics will be like. Comes with a couple of adds. He is a fire mage, so he has standard fire mage mechanics. He will create lines of fire and he will kind of shoot fire runes on the ground. His special mechanic is that he will sometimes summon out fire Atronax or lava Atronax, which will give him a damage shield. It's a very, very large damage shield. You won't be able to break through it, at least not easily. You have to kill the fire Atronax in order to take down the shield, so you can go back to damaging him. And then we're on to the last boss. If you're doing hard mode, the scroll is right behind the ladder when you jump down. Boss will spawn on that little lava pool in the center there. She has a couple of attacks that you're going to need to watch out for. She has a attack that targets a random player, hits him with the fireball. Absorb magic does not work for this if you're the tank. The best way to deal with it is to get a damage shield up or block it before the projectile before it hits you. Second move is what you saw there. She will plunge her sword into the ground and summon out lava lines. Those are one-hit kills on hard mode. You're going to want to back away from her when she does the animation and then kite around the lava lines. As you can see here, the strategy that I like to use is for the tank to draw her away from the DPS and healer to give them as much time as possible to avoid those lava lines. Those lava lines are pretty slow moving, so it's pretty easy to avoid those. She has a heavy attack that the tank should block. And just like the last boss, she will summon lava Atronax that will give her a damage shield. While she is doing her damage shield, you can't harm her. It actually gives her about, when she has 3 of them up towards the end, it gives her about a 15 million damage shield. So you have to kill the lava Atronax before you can damage her again. For this fight, it's fairly easy. Our group wiped a couple of times, mainly because our healer and one of our DPS get one-shotted a lot by the random fireball that she uses. So the fireballs are probably going to be the biggest problem of this fight. So, like I said earlier, the best way to deal with it is to just use a damage shield like the light armor ability, Annulment and its morphs, or healer can use Steadfast Ward and its morphs to give one random person, or the person with the lowest health, a damage shield. Alternatively, you could just block the projectile before it hits you. It does move fairly quickly, so you do have a small amount of time to block, but it is possible to block it, which does mitigate the damage, so you can survive it. We're just gonna go ahead and skip through the rest of the boss fight as well as the wipes. If all of your team does happen to wipe as the tank, it is possible to just tank her hits and revive the rest of your teammates one by one, kind of chain res them. Her normal attacks don't hit for that much, and if you have an ultimate like barrier or magma armor, magma shell, you can actually pick somebody up and they can start rezzing people. This is all fairly dependent on your ability to self-heal though. For this particular tank build that I do have a significant amount of self-healing. Those are the lava Atronax. As you can see, she has a humongous damage shield even with two of them. So the idea here is to take out the lava Atronax when they do spawn, because you're not going to be able to burn through that damage shield. It's several million damage shield high. You can see that number there. It's enormous. When this happens, DPS should take out the lava Atronax while the tank keeps the attention of the boss. Just be aware of the boss, the fireball attack, and the lava wall attack when killing these lava Atronax, and beware of the random lava balls that get fired out from the arena. They don't go towards the center of the arena too often, and they don't do that much damage, but it is something you kind of want to watch out for as DPS and healer, because you're generally going to take more damage from those than the tank will, obviously. And if you're unfortunate enough to be targeted by her fireball and get hit by one of those lava balls, you will take some significant damage. You probably won't die, but I would still avoid it just the same. For those of you who have done City of Ash 2, these are kind of the same kind of deal. They're not as frequent and don't hit as hard as in City of Ash 2, but they're still something you kind of want to avoid as much as possible. So here we finally managed to kill her. And that's it for Blessed Crucible. Hope this guide helps. See you guys in the next dungeon.